I don't know if this is working. So if you're looking at me right now, then you're probably not watching it live. So we're going to get to the podcast in a second. Right now, I'm just trying to make sure this thing's working. I don't know how it works. Oh, look at that. Looks like we're live. Cool. Looks like we're live. I'm a little bit delayed right here, but hopefully, hold on, let me check. All right. Seems like we got audio. We're a little fuzzy down here at the edges. Don't worry about that. The lighting situation isn't exactly what it should be. But yeah. So once again, if you're watching this right now, you're probably watching it post tense. So let me figure out what we're talking about here, and then we will get started. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. I guess this is also good because we can wait for a couple people to get in here. But if you have any questions, ask me in the chat. Okay, cool. We'll make sure we're on the same page here. Let's see. I don't think I have anything in here. Anything in my notes. We're winging this thing, ladies and gentlemen. We're jumping straight into it. Got something on this computer I need to pull up. All right. Let's jump right into it now. This is where I normally play the intro, but because it's YouTube, I can't play the intro, blah, 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 blah. So pretend like the intro is playing. When you go back and listen to the audio version, the intro will be playing. But this is where damn drumming and the music kicks in. You know how it goes. Anyway, what is going on, everybody? Hello and welcome to On the Pipe Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Tyler Shepherdson, and today is Tuesday, March the 28th. We got a brand new beta Tuesday, and it's OTP Tuesday. So hello and welcome. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to On the Pipe Podcast. We got a few things to go over. We got some results to go over. We got some stuff going on. We got results from out west. We got results from out east. We've got results from Sprint Enduros, from Mideast Hare Scramble, and I would say everything in between, but I think that about covers it. So if you are watching this live, thank you. Hello. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Very clearly and obviously, I meant that we were going live at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, to which is the case. We started right on time. You know what I mean? It's 10:01 on the East Coast, but we started a little bit ago. And, yeah, totally, absolutely meant 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, obviously. No. If you are watching live, we are an hour behind. So I do apologize. If you're listening to this after the fact, then just forget what we talk about here in just a minute. But tonight, I had such a big idea, such a big plan. I had everything set up, and then I realized that I am a little bit of an idiot. So we had everything set up. As we've talked about previously, I got a new studio. We got a new podcast studio right here on Main Street in Lowell, North Carolina. So if you're ever driving through, once again, hit me up. Feel free to stop by. But the point of that being, today, we went up to our good buddies at Palmer Motorsports. Got to talk with Tyler Palmer for a little bit while he's building his race bike for this weekend to go out and hopefully claim a top amateur spot. But Todd Palmer runs the shop. We went up there. We got our brand new 2023 Beta 390R, and it sounds sick. I rode it around my neighborhood. That's all I've done so far. It sounds sick. It feels sick. Can't wait to put some actual seat time in on it. But getting back to the story, I had this bright idea. Hey, look, we are going to go to the studio. We're going to set the bike up in the background. We're going to talk about it. You're going to be able to see it over my shoulder. You'll be able to see the front window and see cars passing by on Main Street, because I've been over there all week painting that thing, trying to get it ready. It was like dark gray, almost black. I've painted it with 3 coats of white. It's still not completely white yet, but that was the plan. We'll work with what we got. We'll be able to see the window. We'll be able to see Main Street. We'll be able to see this brand new Beta 390RR. And so I broke down half of the studio stuff. It was already over there. The other half of the studio stuff I had in my car with me. The other part of the studio stuff I had here at my house. So I went, I grabbed it all. I headed to the studio with the bike, ready to go. Oh, man, this is going to be awesome. get all the way there, get all the way set up, and completely throughout this whole entire process forgot that there's no internet over there yet. All the time I've been working there, watching stuff and streaming stuff, it's just been on my phone using data. So didn't have internet, tried to stream it with a hotspot on my phone, didn't have enough bandwidth to do it. So then I had to break down all the studio stuff that I just tore out of my house, bring it back to my house, get it set up. My camera wasn't working right. Long story long, I had good intentions of doing it at the studio. It ended up not happening at the studio. So now we're here doing it at my house. Hopefully, this is going to be the last podcast at my house, and the rest of them will be in our new studio/office that is on Main Street. So, sorry for the delay, but thank you for being here. Right before that, I was actually playing pickleball. If you have not played pickleball, I highly suggest that you play some pickleball. One of the most random things that you could ever get into, but I got into it playing with my girlfriend and her dad. I had to fill in when she was hurt, and then I had to fill in when he was hurt, so got into it that way. But then today we went and played some open courts. Let me tell you something about pickleball. First of all, it's addicting. Second of all, it's like overgrown ping pong. So if you like ping pong, you'll love pickleball because it's like a little bit more athletic, big ping pong, but like not quite as running around and covering stuff as tennis. So ACL's pretty much under control. My leg is still messed up. I can play pickleball just fine. So it's an awesome sport. But not only that, we show up and there was a bunch of old whites. I'm realizing that a lot of pickleball is filled with old whites. And so like, and a lot of them is like older ladies. And by old, if you're listening to this and you are getting close to that old category, I'm sorry. Don't get mad at me for calling or insinuating that you're old. I don't mean you're old. But I mean like late 50s and 60s, which for athletics, it's getting up there. I'm sorry. We all get old eventually, hopefully. That's the goal anyway. But the point of this is you show up and you got some olds, especially when it's some old white ladies, and you're like, man, I'm about to destroy these. This is not going to be fun at all. I'm about to destroy these people. And let me tell you something. They come with the heat. Like, legit, losing some games, winning some games, having a good time. Man, it's legit. I just want to let you know that if you show up, there's going to be some olds, and they're going to be really good. But I didn't mean to get on a whole ramble about pickleball, but that's where I was before this. Rushed to the studio to get the thing done, to get the show started. Found out that's not going to work, so I had unloaded the bike, had to load the bike back up, bring the bike back here. Anyway, I think that should cover it. I think that should get us past what we were talking about with the studio. But we did get a brand new beta. I am excited to put out some content. I'm excited to actually ride this one. I turned in last year's beta with 9.9 hours on it. So when you break your leg twice in a year, you're not going to ride a bike a whole lot. And by the time my leg started to feel good and I got cleared last year, it was like right in the peak of summer, like 99 degrees, dry, dusty. And that's a hard time to get back in shape and to find the motivation to get back riding. It's hard to start in the summer. And I'd already been off the bike for like more than a year at that point too. So it's like really starting in the peak of summer. My leg is still hurting. You got to push through that. You got to push through the pain. You got to push through the heat. And you got to deal with the conditions. It's not an ideal time to start riding. So then fall time came. I rode it a little bit, and then I broke my leg again. And so this time, we're putting some hours in on this beta machine, and we're bringing you along for the ride. And as soon as I get some free weekends, I need to find some races that aren't on GNCC weekends and aren't on Mideast Hare Scramble weekends. So if you know a series like that, shoot it my way because I need to go there. Check it out. Looking for a couple VXCS races. Happy birthday, Josh Deal. I think today actually is his birthday. Josh Deal runs the VXCS series, a very well-ran, awesome series up in Virginia, so maybe I can make it up to one of those. But, yeah, looking forward to it. Got some stuff in the works to race some GNCCs as an honorary beta rider, so that is just pretty silly that I have the opportunity to do that, but I think it'll be cool, and I'm appreciative of it because obviously, we got the Beta motorcycle, and that's because Beta Motorcycles is the official manufacturer of On the Pipe podcast. Beta Motorcycles are family-owned and operated since 1905. They manufacture the finest enduro, trials, and dual sport motorcycles that are known for their premium quality and rideability. Beta motorcycles are the best looking bikes on the market, and they back it up with their superior performance. Head over to betausa.com for more information on their available models or to find a dealer near you to get yours today. Real quick plug on Beta. We mentioned it is the only dirt bike that has a warranty. A dirt bike with a warranty. Who does that? Beta does that. And the reason why I can say that is there was actually a Beta motorcycle from a fast AA rider that just had a weird freak thing done to it. And bike is brand new. And I say a weird freak thing. I don't want to go into all the details because I'm not sure of all the details, but it was at no fault of any, I don't know. It was just a weird thing. Anyway, point of the story is that it happened, called Beta. Beta said, hey, we're going to send you a brand new motor. So now that bike just can't get a brand new motor put in it. What other manufacturer would do that? I don't know. But so that was cool to see. But it's cool to have a dirt bike with a warranty. You can also order your dirt bike with all your parts already on it. You can order your dirt bike with your suspension set up for you. It's pretty cool. They're doing a lot of cool things over there. So check out betausa.com. And you can find out for yourself. This episode is also brought to you in part by Zach Tussle at Raymond James Financial. Zach is a racer and a financial advisor that helps his clients win when it comes to retirement and financial planning. If you or someone you know wants to save or invest for their future or is already retired and needs advice for income during retirement, Zach Tussle is always my first recommendation. Zach Tussle is a good friend of the show. Zach Tussle has been on the show. If you have not listened to that episode with Zach Tussle, I suggest you go back and watch it because it was a good one. Yeah, just kind of learn more about Zach and also learn more about what he can do for you. If you go to financialadvisorsdenvernc.com, you can get a free consultation with Zach just for being a listener of the show. So we talk about it all the time, what the benefits are, what is required to be to start your financial future. Give you a hint, it's nothing other than the want and the will to put out or to save some money and invest for your future. That's the only thing you need. That's the only prerequisite. And you can call Zach and get a free consultation just for listening to OTP. So keep that in mind. FinancialAdvisorsDenverNC.com. I'm actually playing golf with Zach Tussle in the morning. So tomorrow, our tee time's at 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll go ahead and say that. So if you have any questions, I'll be with him. Hit me up. Let me know. And we can ask him. And everything will be all hunky-dory. But, yeah, so check him out. Other than that, OTP screen printing, as you all know, it's my business that we're starting. It's going into the office down there on Main Street. We're banging out some shirts. And a lot of shirts that I've made already have come from the racing community. So thank you, each and every single one of you. There's a lot of people listening to the show. There's a lot of people that support this show. And I appreciate the people that have reached out to me from the show to print your company's T-shirts. Thank you for trusting me. And, yeah, I hope they're all happy with the quality of the work and the promptness. That's what we're going on. So if you need some shirts made or know someone that might need some shirts made for their company, let me know. Hit me up at OTP Screen Printing or shoot me a message. And, yeah, it's pretty cool. So thanks. Speaking of that, let's start things off on a little bit of a weird note. We're gonna do some house cleaning today. We're gonna talk about some things. So first of all, you might have saw a story that I posted the other day about someone stealing some things, and I got a lot of comments. I'm not gonna go into the names. If you saw the story, then you know who I'm talking about. If you didn't see the story, there's no need to even bring it up and say their name. We're just gonna talk about the situation at hand. First of all, I got a lot of messages that people coming out of the woodworks to explain their distaste for this person. So that also kind of reinforces the way that they conduct business. And really the reasoning for all this happening in the first place, it made a lot more sense when I started seeing all the people that went out of their way to talk about this person and this company. But the thing that I accuse them of is stealing. And that was met with a little bit of stuff going on and people questioning what they stole, what was going on, and that kind of thing. So what was going on was I got sent, there was a couple videos that I took over the weekend at the Mideast Hare Scramble of a creek jump, people crashing, people jumping successfully, all sorts of stuff. And they had posted that. They screen recorded the video, posted it as their own, and didn't even give me credit. Like, didn't even tag it. Like, hey, videos from On the Pipe podcast. It's one thing if someone reaches out and says, hey, I really like this video. Can I use it? I don't recall a time that I've told anybody no, especially riders. If riders want to use video that I have of you, like if you watch one of my YouTube recaps of a GNCC and you saw some video in there that you liked and you wanted, if you hit me up and ask me for that footage, I don't remember ever telling anybody no. What the issue is when you take that footage and try to use it as your own. That's not cool. That is stealing. And you may look at it as being a prima donna. You may look at it as being a drama queen, anything like that. But you guys got to keep in mind, social media, my own social media, this OTP social media, the Instagram, the TikTok, the YouTube, the Facebook, that more than paid for my office space on Main Street in Lowell, North Carolina this month. It actually more than double it because we had a pretty good month. But and that's just from social media videos. And I mean, the podcast generates money in several different ways. But just to put it in perspective, the reels that you see me posting, the TikToks that you see us posting, the reels on Facebook, the YouTube videos, just the money generated from that more than pays for a brick and mortar studio location for this podcast. Just that money has gotten me by the past year, quitting my full-time job. I had a good paying job. I was a safety director for a telecom company that did work for the largest electricity utility in the country. We did the international airport here in Charlotte. We did all of the properties, all the telecom work for the largest electricity provider in the country. We did all the work for a hospital chain around here. We did new construction stuff. And I was the safety guy over everybody. Left a good paying job. And I did that because of what we have going on over here. I got some other things behind the scenes as well. But the point of the fact is, or the fact of the matter, whatever you want to say, is social media is a big part of this thing. And that is why I started the Shepherdson Media Group, SMG, that you might have seen pop up on Instagram to manage other people's social media, because I legit have made an income and are paying for a studio, an office space to grow this podcast in just from posting things on social media. If you Google real quick, how much money do you make off of a TikTok? It pops right up. It tells you how much you get paid off of TikTok. And we're just using TikTok as an example. And to be honest with you, TikTok is the lowest paying one of them all. Google right now, how much do you make off of a TikTok video? We posted one video 2 weeks ago of Ben Nelko pitting at the Georgia GNCC. That video, I think right now, is 190 million views. Multiply that number that you just Googled on TikTok of how much they pay per 1,000 views times 180,000. Is that how many times 1,000 goes into 180 million? And look at that number and tell me what that number is. That's a real number. Now, YouTube pays more per 1,000 views. Facebook pays. Instagram pays. All of these people pay. So when you start talking about ripping someone's video, stealing someone's video, posting it as your own, and taking credit for that video, you are effectively stealing thousands of dollars worth of content. Now, if it's a random person standing in a creek that happens to get a video and you take their content, that's one thing. But this is my livelihood. This is what I do for a living. This is what Mason Rader does for a living. This is what Carson Atima with 10-4 does for a living. This is what Ian Howes does for a living. This is what Mac Faint does for a living. When you directly steal people's content, don't give them credit, you are stealing from them. And not only that, you look at that video, and I mean, since then, I think in the past 2 weeks, I have probably 8 or 9 videos that are over 1 million views. I think 6 of those are over 5 million views. Once again, take that number that we found out earlier and multiply that, what you get for 9 videos over 1 million, for 6 videos over 5 million. For that one video, that's 190 million. that is why I do these. Like, I've been busting my ass to grow this OTP into what it is for 6.5 years. I don't get paid by anybody to be at the races anymore at GNCCs. I shoot it to bring content. I shoot it to bring a light to the off-road world. I shoot it to cover these off-road racers. I go to those things on my own dime in order to bring this content to you, to talk about what's going on at the races, to give you videos of the races, to give you reels of what's going on. I spend my time and my money going to these races. I went to Georgia and got completely covered in mud just chasing the riders around, riding a pit bike through the mud, coming home, replacing all the parts on my pit bike and cleaning it off. My camera right now, this camera that I'm filming with right now, I wiped the lens off. If you could see this camera, it is more brown than it is black because there's so much mud on it. That camera costs thousands of dollars. And this is what it takes to get this content, to get this stuff that you see as free. So a lot of people were supporting me, like I said, but there were a few people making the comments of, hey, it's not that big of a deal. Hey, it's not stealing. It is stealing. When you think about all this that goes into it, it is stealing. And think about managing social media and posting on social media. We talk about that. It helps you get contracts. It helps you get sponsors. Show me a rider winning their local races with 1,000 followers, and then show me the rider that's getting 5th or 6th place that has 20,000 followers, and I guarantee that rider is getting more product, getting more budget, getting more free stuff, getting more attention. Because at the end of the day, it's about getting the product in front of people. And so that is where all of this comes from. But like I said, you build up your social media enough, then that becomes an income in itself. Each month, each and every month. And when you look at this person's page that stole my content, like I said, those videos got sent to me. And then I started digging through this page, and I found 11 other videos that they had taken from me. And they're getting thousands of views on it. And so then they're getting paid out on that. So now that content that I went and spent my money and my time and all this stuff that I had to get in order to get to the race and film it, they're ripping that from behind a computer screen at their house, not doing any of it, and then they're using it for financial gain on social media and also financial gain through marketing for their company. And that, my friends, is not cool. And that is effectively stealing. So, yeah, I don't know. I think I've talked about my philosophy on the content in the online game on here before. If you pay for content, I don't know how other people feel about this. This is the way that I look at it. Any of those people I just mentioned earlier, they might feel completely differently about it. I don't know. You might want to ask them. In my mind, if you pay for something, that's it. Like you see all the time, people say, oh, a tag doesn't pay the bill. Exposures doesn't pay the bills, blah, 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 blah. So in that case, if you pay somebody for a picture, if you pay someone for a video, if you paid for that content from me, I don't care if you tag me or not because I got my money. Exposure doesn't pay the bills. Money does. If you pay me, if you want to be nice and tag me and let people know that I'm doing that stuff for you, cool. Appreciate it. Good looking out. No one's going to be mad at you for tagging them. But if you pay for it, that's now yours. Like if you buy a piece of content from somebody, that is now your content. So that's just the way that I feel about it. But similarly, if you don't pay for it, then I think you are 100% obligated to tag that person and say where it came from and make it known where it came from. So if you don't pay for it and you post it and you don't tag them, that is frowned upon in my book. If you pay for it and tag them, good on you. I think that's above and beyond in my book. But if you pay for it and don't tag them, it is what it is. But this person that stole all this stuff from me also stole from the majority of the people that I mentioned a minute ago that I found on their page as well. But then you start going through it, and every single post is stolen content that they've taken from somewhere around the thing. And if you want to try to build a social media following up and do it that way, then that is not the way to go about it. And, yeah, this ended up being a way longer rant than what I meant for it to be. But the point is, don't do shady shit. Sorry. I was going to try not to cuss, but it just came out. Hopefully that came across in a way that made sense. Hopefully, it didn't come off in a way that makes me sound like I'm on a high horse or anything like that. But that's just, I mean, that we are in an ever-changing world, and online content, digital content, social media is such a big part of it. And like I said, social media is what allowed me to leave my full-time job to pursue this, to grow this, to make this bigger, to make this better. And I think now we're in the stage of seeing that happen, especially once we get moved into the new place and all that stuff comes to fruition. I think we are going to see the exponential growth of On the Pipe podcast, which hopefully in return is an exponential growth in off-road racing, especially if we can get this Bike GP series off of the ground. But yeah, social media is a tool, ladies and gentlemen. Use it to your advantage. Post as much as possible. Make sure that it's good posts. Make sure you're doing that stuff, especially if you're a pro rider or you're an amateur rider that wants to become a pro rider, or you're a kid that's just starting out now. The quicker you start on social media, the better off you are going to be, because that is the way that the world works now. It's hard to do anything without a good social media presence. And then once again, you build it up big enough, and all of a sudden, that social media is an added stream of income to you. And if social media scares you, you don't understand how it works, you can hire SMG, Shepherdson Media Group, and we will get you dialed in. Yeah. Working with a few different riders in the industry right now. Worked with some riders last year, and I think they would all give glowing recommendations. I'm not sure if they would want me to say their names. I think one of them's pretty obvious. Good friend of the show, Ben Nelko. I think since we started doing his, he's seen significant improvement. He actually got directly contacted by sponsors saying that they have seen, and by the team owner saying that they've seen a step up in the social media, that they appreciate the step up in the social media. He's gained a few thousand followers from the social media. And like I said, all that starts working towards building that extra stream of income to eventually where it's going to become he's making money off of it. So, yeah. Point is, do it the right way. Don't steal from people. Be a good person. Yeah. So, that was a longer rant than what I had planned on, but here we are. Now, here we go. There was a lot of racing that went on this past weekend, and I was at the Mideast Hare Scramble. It was a super cool property. If you weren't at that Mideast Hare Scramble, let me tell you something. It was like if you imagine Steel Creek 20 years ago. That's what this property was like. It was up in the mountains. It was tucked like in a valley. Like all around there's mountains, and we were in like the low spot. It was sick. But then the track went up the mountains. It went down the mountain, across the street, across some other mountains. It was just such an awesome property. Tons of elevation, great dirt. It rained on Saturday morning, which I think made the track come around perfectly for Sunday. Yeah, it was almost up near Boone, North Carolina, which is up in the mountains. But this was kind of like in the foothills, but getting up to the mountains. It was an awesome piece of property. More than one person, people that have been racing a long time, said that it was the best track of any series that they'd ever raced. Trevor Bollinger said that it was the second favorite track that he's ever raced in his life besides Steel Creek. And, dude, it was such a cool property. I was hoping that I would have had the beta before this weekend so I could have spun some laps. I got to see a lot of it on the four-wheeler, but then just looking at it, walking around, watching the riders ride it, it was sick. Some people weren't as big of fans of creek jumps as other people, as you can see in some videos. But, yeah, what a cool piece of property. Trevor Bollinger came out and went racing with us. Trevor is a multi-time Mideast overall champion, local legend at the Mideast Hare Scramble Series. And like I said, we're pretty much up near his neck of the woods, up in the mountains of North Carolina. So Bollinger came out, and he got hurt right before the season, or he got hurt last year, and that kind of dragged into the season. So he's had a little bit of slow start as far as the Nationals are concerned. So I think this was a cool race for him to come back out at, get some confidence, get a big win, and he's really starting to feel better on the bike, and you can tell by the way he's riding, by the way he's acting, by the way he's training, and all of that. So Trevor Bollinger comes out, grabs the overall win. Jonathan Johnson was in that number 2 spot, so they were pretty tight together. John led for a little bit. Trevor was filming him on GoPro, but yeah, they swapped back and forth a little bit, but then Trevor got out in front, kind of put the hammer down a little bit, and was able to pull away. But Jonathan Johnson got second place. Once again, I think he's got to be an overall Mideast champion. Him and Brody Johnson were like ruling the roost after Trevor Bollinger was forced into racing the National Enduros. But nevertheless, also a local legend. And Johnny's been on a tear lately, man. What he did down in Florida, what he did down in Georgia. So it's cool to see him out there racing with us as well, since it was an off weekend from National Enduro and GNCC. It was cool to see them boys come out. Nick DeFeo, the T-Rex, he raced his third straight Mideast Hare Scramble and got his third straight overall podium. So one of the top amateur guys, obviously, and now racing local pro, stepping it up. Third place both times. And, I mean, third place over Mike DeLosa, Zach Davidson, Ryan Piper. I don't know where Ryan Piper came from, but he was rolling. Andrew Van Atta, who beat Cooper Webb in a woods race. Chase Colville was out there. Grayson Lale was out there. There was a lot of really fast dudes. Nate Davis was out there. And same thing as last weekend. Like, there was a lot of heavy hitters still there as well. And Nick DeFeo was on the podium again at that round and the round before. So Nick DeFeo is rolling, especially to be able to go out there and put it in third place overall against the people that are out there. Also, want to give a big shout out to good friend of the show, Dustin Simpson. He raced, so Mideast has 2 AA classes. They have the regular AA class, and then they have the AA 30-plus class. And Dustin raced the AA 30-plus class and ended up being the top AA rider. So he beat the young guns in the AA class as well, 10th place overall. So it was cool to see him out there racing. He is in contention for that North Carolina overall championship. He won the last race down there, which reminds me, T's and P's to Evan Earl. Broke his neck, banged his head up pretty good. But Dustin was able to get the win out there. And but he came out, did some Mideast racing with us because it was an off weekend for them as well. And it was cool to see him out there and to see him grab that win over the AA folks. So, yeah. Also this weekend, there was a full gas sprint enduro that happened out near the beach pretty much in North Carolina. And Lane Michael showed up and showed out. He took the overall win. A former U.S. sprint enduro champion, Lane Michael, had a lot of really good runs at the OG full gas back in the day. He's racing the full gas season this year. He clicks off a win at round number 2 down there. Lyndon Snodgrass raced the Pro 1 class rather than the Pro 2 class and ended up getting second place in that in the XC1 Pro class. And then T-Dags, Tyler Medaglia, the Canadian sensation, the Canadian motocross superstar, we're going to say, finished in third place, which we need to get Tyler on the show. That's one person that I've been saying for a while. We need to get him on the show because dude, he's raced designations, motocross designations, and ISDE for Canada in the same year multiple times. Like, that's sick. To be able to have the skill in the off-road and have the skill in motocross, I think it's pretty cool. Josh Strang, 4th place overall. 5th place overall was the XC2 winner, Mason Simmons. So Mason Simmons out there racing XC2 at full gas. And then shout out to old Zach Davidson, 6th place overall. He won the Pro-Am class. But that was on Saturday. And then, like I said, Zach Davidson came and raced with us at Mideast on Sunday. So pulling double duty and having success in both series. But Mason Simmons grabs the XC2 Pro win. And then in that number 2 spot, it was Zach Hayes, which missed a test for whatever reason. But Zach Hayes ended up second in XC2 Pro-Am, as we mentioned. Zach Davidson grabbed the win there with Dylan De La Cruz in the number 2 spot. That was the one name I missed saying the most. That was my favorite name to announce. Braxton McGee. We talked about Braxton on the last episode, coming out of retirement. He comes out of retirement again. He's racing again. He's all over the place. Gets 3rd place in Pro-Am. Mackenzie Tricker wins Women's Pro, former Sprint Enduro champion. She grabs the win. Elizabeth Perez in 2nd. Lexi Babbitt's in 3rd in that Women's Pro class. Meanwhile, over at the U.S. Sprint Enduro, let me see if I got the right one. Oh, that was something else I pulled up. The U.S. Sprint Enduro, Cody Barnes came out swinging. He grabbed the day 1 win overall. So that was cool. Cody's been ripping. Would love to talk to Cody on the podcast again too. We've had him on before. I think he is overdue and had a ton of success. We need to get him back on the show and talk to him. But he won the overall on day one, which was cool to log on and see. But he might have won that battle on day one. Johnny Gerard won the war overall for the weekend. So Johnny Gerard grabs the overall win. Gus Reardon in the pro class, or pro 2 class rather. He grabs the pro 2 win, second place overall. So Gus coming off of his first career XC2 victory, and then backs it up with a pro 2 victory, second place overall at the U.S. Sprint Enduro. Cody Barnes, second place in pro 2, third place overall. Thad Duvall, second place in pro 1. And did they only have 2 pros? Lane Michael. Oh, so I guess Lane must have went out and raced on Sunday because he's only got 6 tests. So Lane Michael won the overall on Saturday at full gas, and then went and raced U.S. Sprint Enduro the next day, it looks like. So 2 Pro 1 riders that raced the weekend. And then Rui Barbosa, third place in Pro 2. So Gus grabs the win. Cody Barnes in second. Rui Barbosa in third. And then the women's pro class was won by Rachel Archer. Second place went to Rachel Goodish. And third place went to Shelby Turner. So that's the way that all the Sprint Enduro fiasco went down over the weekend. And then we're going to go out west. We're going to check in with our left coast buddies out there for a minute. Winning the pro class at the National Hare and Hound. So that is an AMA National Championship Series. The Hare and Hound, which that is a completely different, whole other form of racing. But taking the win, it was Dalton Shirey. We got to do West Coast Wednesdays. It's something we talked about. I guess I can officially say that we are up to something once again, and it does relate to the West Coast, and it does relate with the podcast and how the podcast is ran and how the podcast could be ran in the future. Working out details now, not 100% sure what's going to come of it, but we are up to something, and it includes more West Coast stuff. So I gotta learn the names because I sound like an idiot. So Dalton Shirey. I'm going to go with Dalton Shirey. If that's wrong, I'm sorry. But, yeah. He grabs the overall win. Joe Wasson, who we have had in a roundabout way on the podcast before. Eric Kudla did an interview with him and then gave it to us. So that was cool. Former champion. He is a beta boy. He's on the left coast factory beta team. He grabs second place at that Hare and Hound in the pro class. Third place, it was Carter Klein, rounding out your top 3 there. Clayton Roberts took the Pro 250 win with Mason Ottersberg in the number 2 spot. And I don't know if I ever actually said it on the podcast or not, but we're going to say it right now. Mason Ottersberg would be our left coast representative. I don't want to say if we start West Coast Wednesdays. When we start West Coast, did I say left coast? West Coast Wednesdays. Mason Ottersberg is going to join us and be our boots on the ground out west. He made the switch. Last year he won the 250 Pro Championship for Yamaha, and now he switched to Sherco for this year. So he grabbed second place on the weekend. This was actually his first Hare and Hound that he ever raced, and he ended up on the box with a second place finish. So hopefully we'll be hearing from him as well and on a more continued basis. Mason Ottersberg, so congratulations on that podium. And then Nick Colangeli grabs third place in the final overall podium spot in the Pro 250 class. So I hope that hope we got those names somewhat right. I'm doing my best here. Rachel Stout took the win in the women's pro class. Brittany Gallegos in the number 2 spot. And Ty Woolslayer rounds out your top 3 women's pro riders. So there you have it. That is results from around the country on this glorious race weekend. This weekend coming up, we got the GNCC that's going to be kicking off loud and proud down in Big Buck, Union, South Carolina, going back to Big Buck. So this is Bigger Buck or Tiger Run, whichever one you want to call it. I like to call it Bigger Buck. It's gonna be a good one, man. I think we're gonna see a heated battle throughout the rest of this year. We kind of talked about it before. So we saw Stu Baylor take the win at Big Buck before, Ben Kelly in second. And then in Florida, we saw Ben Kelly take the win, Stu Baylor in second. And then down in Georgia, in the mud, Craig DeLong ends up getting his first career win. But keep in mind, Craig DeLong was on the podium in Florida, one of the most grueling and hardest races of the year. Craig DeLong made it on the box with a third-place finish. The race before that, he ended up with a fifth-place finish. That being said, Craig DeLong currently sits third place in points. Craig DeLong was the second-place finisher in points last year. And now he's only 9 points out of the lead. Keep in mind, 9 points is the difference between first place and third place. So if he gets first place and Ben Kelly gets third place, and I think even if Stu gets second, he would be in the lead. Craig DeLong would have the points lead. So Craig DeLong, we did a show with him. He was the last pro rider to come on an OTP Tuesday, and we talked to him. And we talked about, hey, do you feel like you belong in this XC1 class at first when he was first starting? And then we got around to it and to where he does feel like, yeah, I do belong. Second place, grabbing whole shots, leading races. I do belong. And then he came out and beat everybody. And granted, it was muddy conditions, but it's off-road racing. There's going to be mud races. Everyone started that race. Everyone was in that race, and Craig DeLong won that race. Craig DeLong is in third place. Craig DeLong is within striking distance of the points lead. And I think, effectively, Craig DeLong is a contender for this championship. And I was actually talking to some people about it today. Like, he's here. He's arrived. He was one of those guys that was in XC2 for quite some time. He won the XC2 championship, stayed down to defend it, moved up to the XC1 class, got a podium in the mud at his first ever XC1 race. And his first full XC1 season last year, he finished in second place in points. So I think moving up has forced him to become a better rider. I think it's made him a better rider all around. And I think now there's people that go their entire careers and never get an overall win. A lot of people go their entire career and never get an overall win. That first one is always the hardest in anything that you do. That first one is always the hardest. So now that he's gotten there, he's gotten that confidence. He beat everyone on that row. He got a podium. He's a steady podium guy. I think we're going to see the next development in Craig DeLong. I think we're going to see him take that confidence and use it. And I think it's all uphill even more from here on out for Craig DeLong. But Ben Kelly and Stu Baylor, hell on wheels. We'll just say that. So that's going to be a battle. Those two guys are going to be hard to beat as well. Jordan Ashburn, got to be dealing with some woes from riding a brand new bike. But I think we're going to see him start to come on as well. He's gone 4.57 this year so far. Grant Baylor, we saw him dominate at Sumter. We saw him get second place at this last National Enduro. He's gotten 6s across the board at GNCC. So I imagine that we're going to see a step up from him at some time. Ricky Russell, we saw him leading meaningful laps. We saw him at the front of races. We saw him leading in Georgia, battling for those top spots. And then ended up with a DNF down in a mechanical down there. But he was on the podium at Big Buck. He's a guy that we can watch that is going to come on as well, who's going to be in the mix for race wins. Josh Strang has won races in each of the last few seasons. Josh Strang is the only other overall – well, now there's 3 of them. Josh Strang is one of 3 overall champions at GNCC. Josh Strang, second place on the box in Georgia. Josh recovering from that injury from last year. I think we're only going to see him get stronger and stronger and stronger as it goes as well. He will contend for race wins. Thad Duvall, switching bikes, switching brands, switching teams. I think he's going to come into his own. Johnny Gerard still dealing with a little bit of injuries, I do believe. But trying to get that meaningful seat time back on the bike. He's coming off a Sprint Enduro win. That's going to boost his confidence. Lane Michaels switching bikes, figuring out the 3-hour. I think we'll see him come on. Ben Nelko, if he can get his bike across the finish line, he'll be good as well. We've seen him lead some races. We've seen him running the pace with those guys. So I think another good start and some confidence and keeping that bike going. I think we'll see him up there as well. And then Trevor Bollinger, as we mentioned, coming off of a race win. at the Mideast Hare Scramble over those guys. I think that we'll see him get better and better and better and better each time out as well. Keep in mind, he is also on a brand new bike, getting that thing worked out, getting the kinks worked out. Now, the one thing I don't understand is I believe they had a new shop open up, the Austrians, the KTM group, and I'm pretty sure that all of their riders are out in California this week for the opening of a shop. We had a 3-week break for GNCC. Obviously, that is the series everyone is contracted for out here on the East Coast. 3-week break. The week of us going back to GNCC racing, they fly everybody out there for 3 days, which I thought was a little bit strange. There may be better uses of your time on a race week than going across the country for 3 days, but you would think with the new bikes and with everything going on that you would want to get as much seat time as possible. But I think that's a big reason why Bollinger might have came out and raced with us this past weekend, to get more seat time on that bike, get more comfy, get more familiar. But, I mean, he's not the only one. There's a lot of people that are on new bikes. There's a lot of people that are on the same bikes, but the model years changed for this year. And so I think everyone's still got a learning curve in trying to figure out those new machines. And, I think once they get figured out, once they get dialed in and get more seat time, more confidence, more riding time on them, I think we're going to see that level of competition continue to pick up and pick up and pick up and pick up. And I think we're in for a real treat this year in the XC1 class. 3 races in, 3 different race winners. You can't get any more exciting than that. Ryder Lafferty leading the points in the way in the XC2 class. Gus Reardon actually moves into second with that race win down in Georgia. And then our defending and reigning champion Lyndon Snodgrass sitting third place in points. Liam Draper, he is poised for a good run himself. We saw him second place in Florida. Talked to him a little bit for the YouTube video from the Georgia race. Rui Barbosa, I think we'll see him right up there in those podium spots. Cody Barnes made it on the podium in Georgia. I think we'll see him up there. Evan Smith figuring out that beta, getting it in the number 2 spot on the podium down in Georgia as well. Johnny Johnson leading the overall. Evan Smith second place in the overall for the first good bit of that race down in Georgia. Also, Johnny out in front in Florida and well on his way to a podium there before having some issues. So that XC2 class, it's wide open as well. I think we're going to see that get more and more competitive. We'll see Mason Simmons stepping up. We'll see Mike Witkowski getting back up there in the front where we know he's comfortable at. There's just a lot of storylines and there's a lot of stuff going on in the off-road world that I think if you are a fan of the off-road racing, there's a lot to be excited about. And, I'm stoked to bring you the information to talk about it. I thank you for listening to the show, for supporting the show. Once again, the past couple weeks, just to put it in perspective, this whole screen printing thing that I started a couple months, it's been a few months now. Anyway, Armored Graphics has been a long-time supporter of the show. Armored Graphics is, I think they're the best graphics around. They're kind of going in a different direction now. That's why I haven't been pumping up Armored as much as we used to on the show, because they're actually doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and I think they're trying to move it more towards that direction. I wish they would come back and do everything that they did do, because I think that they are the best graphics out there. But my shop is set up with Armored Graphics. Is more than an hour away from my house, and it's all the way on the other side of Charlotte, which means it's hellacious traffic to get there and back. So most of the time, it takes me a little bit over an hour to get there, and honestly, like 2 hours to get home if I leave anytime between 5 and 7. So that is a big reason why, one, the show has been a little bit sporadic. Last week, I did that one, and I was like yawning into the microphone and just kind of recap some stuff. My apologies for that. But that was a big part of it, just trying to get it in where I fit in. And on last week's show, I said, hey, come back tomorrow. We got 2 confirmed guests for OTP Tuesday. We should have a 3rd guest on there. I completely dropped the ball on that one because I was out printing T-shirts until midnight trying to get some shirts done, because it is such a far drive. It takes an entire day to go out there and do it. And then when I'm close to getting something done, instead of just leaving it, it's like, man, I've already driven all the way out here. I need to get it done. So that is why that show didn't happen last week. Same thing with this week, man. You can see I'm like covered in paint and stuff, but every bit of my time and attention is either gone into driving all the way out there to make T-shirts or working relentlessly at this shop trying to get it done right next to my house, so that way it's going to be right here. So my apologies. I know we got right into race season, but all the stuff is all happening all at the same time, and it's demanding all of my attention. So I do apologize for the delay in the show. I hope you can stick with me. I hope we can get through this together. Once we get the shop and the studio set up right by the house, it's going to be easy peasy. Can work on some shirts, turn around, sit down, do the show, be in one spot, not have to drive 2 hours to get home and line it all up and then be all tired from being out there all day long trying to do it. So this is going to be a big step in OTP. This is going to be a huge leap. Like I said, I'm up to something. We got some stuff that we're working on in the background. But if you are a fan of off-road and you are a fan of OTP, these are some exciting times to be alive in the off-road racing world. And I can't wait to share more with you what our plans are. I think we are on the verge of changing the game. And I mean that. Like, my goal is to change everything. The industry, the coverage, the media. That is the goal. So I would be nothing and could do nothing without each and every single one of you and for your support. And this whole thing wouldn't be able to get to where it is, and it definitely won't be able to get to where it's going without you and without your support. So thank you. As always, be a friend, tell a friend. If you enjoy these shows, let somebody know. I still get messages all the time like, hey, man, had no clue that the show existed, just heard it, and just started binge listening to a bunch of episodes. I think that is awesome. But I think a lot of people are just still unfamiliar. I think a lot of people don't even know podcasts exist or how to listen to podcasts. And I think a lot of people don't know that Off-Road has a podcast. But I think there's a very clear-cut and obvious number one choice in the off-road racing world, and it is On the Pipe Podcast. So I appreciate you being here with me. I appreciate you supporting the show. If you could subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once we get in the new studio, it's going to be a permanent setup. Like I said, was planning on doing it from there tonight, ended up doing it at the house. But once we get there, I got a full studio set up. We're going to see a jump up in our production quality, and everything's going to be there, and everything's going to be set up permanently, and it's going to be in the spot ready to go. So YouTube is the future of the program. It is the way that we are moving. So if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, one, you get our race recaps, which if you have not watched the race recaps from the 3 GNCCs this year, I highly recommend you go do it. Trying out some different things with those, but it seemed to be pretty receptive by all the comments and the people watching them. So subscribe there. You'll be able to watch the race recaps. We're working on some more stuff coming up. We'll do some product testing and all that good stuff. Same thing, if you want to sponsor the show or you have product that you want tested, hit me up. We can certainly discuss that. If you need t-shirts made, hit me up. We can certainly discuss that. But big stuff to come. I'm excited about it. I am sorry that we haven't been up to par, but we're about to kick this thing in overdrive. We're about to be coming at you live, loud and proud, every single weekend. So be a friend, tell a friend about OTP, and thanks for being a friend. Thanks for listening to us, and we will see you. This is one of the things that I do. This is one of the things I always get myself into. I say things and then I don't deliver on them. I'm trying to change that. Just like last week, saying, hey, tomorrow's OTP Tuesday, not doing OTP Tuesday. My bad. Got caught up, got busy. I'm trying to run 4 different businesses and some other stuff. So my apologies. But I'm going to put this one out there and I'm going to say maybe. I'm not going to say this as definite as everything else. But we do have a plan for a live in-studio guest on Thursday. So pretty much honestly, like if you live in North Carolina, I'm trying to think, all but like this, a small amount of people that live like Shelby, North Carolina and below. If you live in Gastonia, North Carolina or farther north and you are going to Big Buck, you are going to be within 1 mile from the new On the Pipe podcast studio on your drive. We're right off 85, and it's literally like a half a mile off of the exit off of 85. So anybody that is going to Big Buck is going to be driving directly by the studio. Now, we have talked with a couple of pro riders about having them stop by Thursday night is what we're aiming for, because a lot of the pros go Thursday night or Friday morning to the track. But I have been in talks with them. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. We're going to try to make it happen, but tentatively, we might maybe could potentially have our very first in-studio guest at the brand new OTP studio headquarters in downtown Lowell, North Carolina this week. It should be Thursday. If it does happen, I will let you know via the socials at On the Pipe Podcast. So stay tuned with that. Hopefully we can make it happen, but I'm not making any promises because I know how promises go. So, yeah, I'm done. That's all I got to say about that. Thank you for listening. If you are watching live on YouTube, thank you for being here. Like I said, keep in mind, YouTube is where we're moving towards. That way you can ask questions and comments and stuff in the chat. We saw Nick Jones on here a little bit earlier. I see Tyler Shields. I think it's Tyler Shields. It might be Clint Shields. I think it's Tyler Shields. See you commenting in here. But that's the goal. We're going to grow this community online so we can have live interaction. If you got a question or if I say something wrong, if you want me to talk about something else, you can throw it in the comment thing and we can roll with it. But yeah, that is the way that we are moving. That is the way that we are trending. And we appreciate you being here. And we will see you maybe this week, maybe next week. Definitely this weekend in Union, South Carolina. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time. To be completely honest with you, I don't know how to end this. Oh, I think I found it. All right. Thanks, everybody.